Hello friends, I am Bodhikar Chetan, and in this class we'll study about liquid crystal and one of the property of liquid, that is refractive index. Crystalline solids are anisotropic, that is their properties, that is physical properties, are different in different direction. For example, if we measure the property along direction AB, it will be different as compared to if we measure the same property along the direction CD and along the direction EF, because along every direction different molecules are encountered. However, liquids are isotropic, that is they have identical properties in all different directions. Some crystalline solids, when heated, first melted into a translucent mobile state, which would flow like liquid, but these were anisotropic in nature, that is, they possess the property of crystalline solid, and the temperature at which it gets converted, that we call it as transition temperature. On further heating at a definite higher temperature, that translucent milky liquid gets converted into clear isotropic liquid, and temperature at which this conversion takes place is called as melting point. This milky and translucent anisotropic substance produced before being transformed into a clear isotopic liquid have been named as liquid crystal by Lehmann in 1889. These liquid crystal is a mesomorphic state, that is intermediate state between the crystalline solid and isotropic liquid. Thus, the liquid crystal have fluidity of liquid and optical properties of solid crystals. So over here we can say that these liquid crystals are mesomorphic state, that is intermediate state between anisotropic solid and isotropic liquid, and these states are obtained either by thermal process, so we call it as thermotropic mesomorphism, or by intervention of solvent, we call it as lyotropic mesomorphism. Now we'll see the classification of thermotropic liquid crystals. So they are classified into three main categories: smectic liquid crystals, nematic liquid crystals, and cholesteric liquid crystal. First we'll see smectic liquid crystals. They have non-Newtonian motion, therefore we cannot call them as a viscous. Molecules are oriented in a well-defined plane, but there is some periodicity within the plane. These liquid crystals are obtained at lower temperature. In this case, the crystal lattice exists but in distorted form. They have uniaxis, that is having single axis, and are not affected by magnetic fields. So here are the example of smectic liquid crystal. Next is nematic liquid crystal. They flow more readily compared to smectic liquid crystal. Their flow is Newtonian, so we can apply the word viscosity to this liquid crystal. Their viscosity is low when compared to true isotropic liquid. They are less anisotropic when compared to smectic liquid crystals, and are also affected by magnetic field. That is, when they are placed in magnetic field, the turbid liquid appears quite clear, and if the magnetic field is cut off, the liquid appears turbid again. In nematic liquid crystal, planar structure is lost, but orientation is preserved without periodicity. Here are the few examples of nematic liquid crystal. Next is cholesteric liquid crystals. These are the crystals having some nematic and some smectic characteristics are called as cholesteric liquid crystals. They have high non-Newtonian flow properties when compared with nematic phase, and it has a helical arrangement of molecules. Now we'll see the application of liquid crystals. Electronic displays make use of liquid crystal for forming pattern on screen. Cholesteric liquid crystal unwinds slightly as temperature is changed and its optical property changes and is used in liquid crystal thermometer. A thin flat television or a computer display is possible only because of liquid crystal. Many common fluids such as soapy water are in fact liquid crystal. Liquid crystal tunable filter are used as electro-optical device. Example, hyperspectral imaging. Now we'll study one property of liquid, that is refractive index. Before proceeding, let us try and understand what do we mean by critical angle and grazing incidence. We know that when ray of light travels from a rarer medium to denser medium, it bends towards the normal, and when ray of light travels from denser medium to rarer medium, it moves away from the normal. If further we increase the angle of incidence, then refracted ray becomes parallel to the surface of that media. That is, refracted ray makes an angle of 90 degree with the normal. So that angle of incidence is called as critical angle. So in short, we can say that when the angle of incidence is critical angle, the refracted ray makes an angle of 90 degree with the normal. Or in other way, we can say that for a particular angle of incidence, when refracted ray is at 90 degree with normal, so that angle of incidence is called as critical angle. Now, in order to understand grazing incidence, we'll consider the example of prism. When the ray of light travels along the surface of prism, that is, incident ray is called as grazing incidence. Here we can say that incident ray makes an angle of 90 degree with the normal, and it enter inside the prism at any point on the prism at a critical angle, and the ray which emerges outside the prism is called as grazing emergence. That is, emergent ray is also along the surface of prism. Ratio of sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction is always constant, and this constant ratio is called as refractive index of the liquid with respect to this given figure. The refractive index of a medium may also be defined as the ratio of velocity of a light in vacuum to the velocity of the light in that medium. Instrument used for measuring refractive index are known as refractometer, and the most commonly used instrument is Abbe's refractometer. The principle of this instrument can be illustrated with the help of this figure. Abbe's refractometer has two prisms which are made up of glass with refractive index higher than 1.75. The sample whose refractive index is to be measured is sandwiched between two prisms, that is top prism and bottom prism. Top prism is also called as measuring or refracting prism, and bottom prism is called as illuminating prism. Now sample whose refractive index is to be measured, it should be less than that of the illuminating prism so as to allow the critical angle phenomena to take place. In this case, a beam of light of suitable source is reflected by the mirror M and passes through the lower prism P and illuminates the upper surface AB. The small space between the lower prism and the upper prism contains a thin layer of liquid whose refractive index has to be measured. All rays entering the liquid at an angles less than grazing incidence will pass through the prism R at angle less than critical angle, and remaining all other ray will suffer total internal reflection and will not pass through the prism R at all. And the band of light seen through the telescope which emerges out of the face AC, and hence the angle alpha can be very accurately determined. This in turn read directly on the scale engraved on an instrument, which directly gives the value of refractive index. The value of refractive index N depends upon the temperature as well as the wavelength of light used, but the magnitude of variation in temperature is not large. And the value of refractive index, that is N, increases as the wavelength of light is decreased. In order to eliminate the effect of temperature, Lorentz put forwarded a theoretical formula which represents the refracting power of 1 gram of liquid, and the advantage of this term is that it is independent of temperature, and this is constant for a particular liquid, and we call it as specific refractivity. In order to compare the refracting power of different substances, the specific refractivities are multiplied by their respective molecular weight, and the resulting product is called the molar refractivity. Its unit is dm cube per mole or meter cube per mole. Let's see one example based on that. The refractive index of carbon tetrachloride is 1.4575 and its density is 1.598 into 10 raised to 3 kilogram per meter cube. Calculate its molar refractivity. So over here we know the formula of molar refractivity, so only we have to substitute the value of refractive index, that is value of N, value for molecular weight as well as density. So finally we get the answer as 26.27 into 10 raised to 6 meter cube per mole. Polarizability. When an uncharged molecule is placed in an electric field, the electrons are attracted by the positive plate and the nucleus is attracted by the negative plate of the field. This produces distortion in a molecule called as induced distortion, and which in turn produces induced dipole moment in a molecule, that is positive charge, one end of the molecule is positive and another end of the molecule is negative. The extent of distortion and the magnitude of induced dipole moment, that is mu I, depends upon the strength of applied electric field. So over here we can say that is mu I. Mu I is called as induced dipole moment, is directly proportional to the electric field, that is E. If we remove this proportionality sign, I'll put one constant, that is alpha. Alpha is called as proportionality constant or polarizability of a molecule. Alpha is the measure of ease with which the molecule can be polarized.